Hi again from the Vuvuzela team. Today we're chatting to Gary, the co-owner of the Great Railroad Brewing Company. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Mandy. Lovely to be here.
Gary, tell us a little bit more about your business.
Okay, what started as a hobby, we're going about 7 years or so ago now, brewing 20 litre or 5 US gallons, which is a standard sort of homebrew size. And I won't bore you with the details on how we transpired from there to where we are now, because it's quite a long story. Yeah, we got into it, as I said, purely as a hobby, but it's what it developed into now as a fully-fledged business. Ursula and I at the time were looking at getting out of the corporate world. We were looking at various other options. We started up in a couple of days' time. It'll be our 5th anniversary, having relocated down to this part of the world. And yeah, what started as purely brewing beer, we brew 8 different styles of beer currently. We've recently, well not so recently, branched out into the gin and spirit world as well. So that's very exciting. I've actually just left a still. We just finished doing a gin run before I came here.
Excellent. So what sort of beers, what ales? I know there's just...
No, there's a myriad of styles. Off the top of my head, we brew a couple of ales. Irish Red Ale, which is a darker, richer, maltier ale. Old English Ale, which is a paler, what we call a session beer. You can drink it all day long. Well, I suppose you can drink any beer all day long if you can stand and stay awake long enough. Sorry. And then we brew a Belgian Ale, which is a dark, slightly stronger ale. We brew a Belgian Wit beer, which is my favorite beer of all time. It's of the Weiss beer family, but it's brewed with bitter orange peel, coriander, and nutmeg. It's not to everybody's taste, but people who are convinced to taste it, they just absolutely love it. And just to round off our range, we brew 2 different lagers, a pale lager called our Dingon's Premium Lager, and Shaka's Impy Lager, which is a darker, also maltier, richer lager, as well as a pale pilsner. So that completes our range.
And your gin?
Well, it's a craft style. We do small batches. We only bought a 100 litre still, so it's not really geared up for mass production. So we do small batches. And yeah, it took a little bit of, we started off, we bought a 5 litre still when we've progressed up to our 100 litre still, which we recently imported from overseas. And yeah, a little bit of tweaking, well, a lot of tweaking with the recipe. So it's a London dry style gin. However, we use 11 different flavors or types of botanicals in our gin. And for a gin to be called a gin, for the people maybe who don't know out there, for a gin to be a gin or a dry gin, you have to use coriander and juniper berries, otherwise it cannot be called a gin. So those 2 form the backbone of basically any gin that's being made. However, as I said, we add 9 different other botanicals to it, including licorice, cinnamon sticks, and a couple of other secret.
Gary, how has lockdown affected your business?
Oh, it's been absolutely devastating. As you can imagine, during the 3-month lockdown where there was no alcohol sales at all, we weren't getting any sales, which has forced us to, look, we were a small team. There was myself and Ursula, my wife and partner, and 2 staff, a full-time member of staff, my right-hand man who I'm training up to be a brewer, and then we had a cleaning lady come Girl Friday, you know, that used to just help around the office. And because of that, we had no work. We had to lay them off for a temporary basis as well, at least. And yeah, so there's been no income whatsoever. And you know, besides all the promises that were made initially about finance and assistance, you know, monetary assistance available to businesses such as ours, and I know there are many of them. There's been nothing forthcoming other than a standard email, sort of almost like a Dear Johnny, look, we've had so many applications for this, you're going to have to be patient. However, I was one of the fortunate few. I remember I was lying in bed, it was about 6:15 in the morning, I'd woken up, I heard the day before that the application is going to be open that morning. I actually must have been, if I wasn't the first, I must have been among the first 100 in the country that got my application into the various venues. And yeah, as I said, nothing's been forthcoming other than, you know, the odd UIF payment made to ourselves and our staff, which helps us you know, on a personal basis, but it doesn't help our business at all. You know, we've got rental, you know, whether our business runs or whether it doesn't run, like any other business, we've still got overheads. Our rental, our utilities, and whatever, you know, we can go on and on and on. And yeah, so we're not sure at this moment in time how long we're digging deep into our savings. So we're not sure now exactly how long we're going to be able to, you know, to carry on with our savings.
Gary, you and Ursula are so well known in our community from markets, and we do see obviously your brands in some of the local restaurants and especially at events. For the man on the street, the consumer, how can they get their hands on your gorgeous beverages and gin?
Well, like any other successful business these days, we've got quite an extensive web page, and anything that you would like to know on, you know, about our products, or the availability, pricing is on there, and then, you know, we're just a phone call or an email away.
You know what, strength to you and Ursula. We obviously cannot wait till things do open up and we are able to see you at these events, these markets, seeing the restaurants being able to sell your products. And yeah, hopefully those answers to all of our questions and a new revived energy comes very, very soon for businesses like yours and hundreds of thousands of others.
Yeah, the whole of the hospitality industry, basically. And just to give you an example of monies that we've lost, and it happened just at the beginning of the lockdown. We paid a substantial amount of money to be at Expo, the Durban Conference, ICC. I can't remember exactly what, the Outdoor Expo or whatever it was called. And you know, it was cancelled a couple of days into the lockdown. We stood to make there between 60 and 70,000 Rand over those 3 or 4 days, and obviously that money is not being realized. Another event we missed out is the Dragons Rally that have up in Tugela Mouth, which is an annual event. And yeah, generally we've done that for the last 2 years since its inception, and we generally turn over 2 to 3 days between 30 and 40,000 Rand, and that's money that's just not coming, and you're never going to recoup it again.
Well, Gary, it's been a pleasure interviewing you, and we just hope that things do open up rather sooner than later for businesses like yourself. So thank you for joining us on the...
No, thank you very much for giving us this platform to just give a little spin on our little operation.
To our viewers, we'll be sharing details on how you can get hold of Gary and Ursula at the Great Railroad Brewing Company. So whether it's a celebration, a gift, you can be in touch with them direct to purchase their gins and their beers. Till next time.